Hello from Derek Cummings again in South Wales. I'm going to do something a little bit different today, and that we're going to actually be talking about me. And I don't often talk about me. I quite often talk about advice of what I've learned along the way, although this is some of the same. But the the main thing of this is to say, don't be afraid of COPD. COPD, yes, it's not a very nice illness, but there are far worse. There are ones that you don't have a lot of time with. Um, Cancer, for instance, or certain heart diseases. With this, you can keep going and going and going. I've had this since I was 39 years old in 1987. I am 72 years old now. So, in some respects, I've lived a good life. I'm not stupid. I'm not going to live forever. At some point, I will expire. And it's a case of whether I will expire with the COPD or because of COPD. But I have managed a life, you know, all those years with COPD. So don't take much notice of Google when you Google something and it says to you that, you haven't got long to live, you've got 5 years or whatever it happens to be, then just really don't take any notice of it. And there's many ways to live with COPD. But the first thing is acceptance. You've got to accept what you have. You've got to accept that you have COPD, and COPD is a life changer. It's slowly a slow illness. It doesn't get bad rapidly. It gets bad very slowly. So you have lots and lots of time to adjust. But your life will change, and as you get further into the illness, then you have to learn how to pace yourself to give yourself a better life with it. Now, one thing with COPD or lung diseases uh, are not all caused by smoking. Mine was actually caused by whooping cough as a child, but I did at one time smoke. And I can assure you that if you smoke, whatever reason you got COPD, it will get worse very rapidly and it will be likely to kill you very rapidly. So your nightmare case is there. Carry on smoking, and you might very well have less than 5 years. Stop smoking, like me, you could go on for 33, 40 years. I'm not an exception. I'm not the only one. There's plenty like me. So don't be afraid of COPD. You can still see your granddaughter grow up and get married. Your daughter grow up and get married if you're young, or your son, whatever, and you can have plenty of life left. Because there's several different stages. I started off at mild. I went to the doctor, so getting a bit out of breath, going up slopes, and it turned out to be COPD. I never really give it much thought. There wasn't no knowledge about it then, but there's lots and lots of knowledge about it now. We know exactly what it is, and I have found that pacing is all important. And I also found out research, research into COPD, into the condition. Google it. Google COPD. Google latest research in COPD. Have a good read because you'll be surprised. You'll learn a lot. And you'll learn about new drugs coming on the market. And those drugs might have actually been um, allowed in your country. In which case, if you hear good reports, you could, as long as you make friends with your specialist and your specialist nurse, go along and ask to try that drug. I do. I treat my specialist as a friend. My nurses are lovely. We have a Christmas dinner for our group, and the nurses come along as well. um, you know, Make friends with your medics because they can do a lot for you. And when you do a research, you can find out more by asking them directly. So do a lot of research. Now, doing my research some many years ago, I found out about vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 is one of those things, it's a hormone rather than a vitamin, and it works on the immune system, and it's one of those very, very essential things for the body. And a lot of us don't get enough D3 because it's made by the skin. If we don't go out in the sun enough, we don't get enough D3. If we stay indoors, we're staying indoors a lot, or we live in the north, the further north you are, say here in the United Kingdom, in Scotland, they get a lot more D3, or a lot less D3, should I say, than us that live here in the south of England, or in my case, South Wales. So it may be worth you going along to the doctor and having a test to see what your D3 levels are, because D3 with us with COPD tends to be very low. It does in COVID as well. Strangely enough, I call COVID COPD on speed, because a lot of the things that seem to work on COVID works for us as well. And I'm hoping that there might be some amazing research come out of that, especially with long COVID. We wait and see with that. They started a vaccination program here in the United Kingdom today, so we're hoping that we're going to get a bit more freedom next year. Now, another thing I use is, so it's called NAC. It's called NAC. You might like to Google it, but that's good for is clearing the stuff on your chest. When I started using it, not a lot seemed to use it. Now a lot do seem to use it because it's so effective at clearing your chest. And you don't want to keep stuff on your chest. Keeping it on your chest is a recipe for disaster. So either ask your doctor for something to keep the phlegm loose if you've got phlegm on your chest, or I would advise personally to go and see NAC. Again, if you're unsure, ask your doctor. He might not even know what it is. And another thing with COPD, I've found it's very important to have plans for the future, to have something to look forward to, no matter what it is, whether it's a holiday, whether it's a trip, whether it's to go and see Uncle Frank or Auntie Doris or whatever. It's important to have plans. So plan the trip, and I love to go for trips for 2 or 3 days. I get the oxygen delivered because I'm on oxygen, and it's great. I have a great time. But what I do first before I go, as you've seen on previous videos, I Google it. I have a look and see whether it's maybe too hilly for me, whether it's unsuitable for my disability, because at stage 4, which they call end stage, I hate that name, end stage, but at this stage, then you need to know where you're going. So always check to see what somewhere like, or if like me, you use a flight simulator, which is very, very good, very accurate. It's rather like flying over Google Earth. You can have a fly around the town and have a look and see what's below you. You'd be quite surprised. That's apart from Google. I have some great fun on the internet, I do. It's one of the fun things. But planning for the future, and another thing you must do is you must keep moving. Exercises. Don't stay still. Don't stay in bed. Too many people I know have done that, stayed in bed, and what's happened, they haven't lasted long. And part of the reason that if you lead too sedative a life, you're getting lots and lots of chesty stuff, which gives you lots and lots more exacerbations until eventually you're so weak that you don't recover, that it actually kills you. By being active, it's good. It gets you coughing, gets you moving, gets the stuff off your chest. Now, you've got to do it. You've got to stay active all the time, as much as possible. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter whether it's pottering around in the greenhouse, pottering around in the house somewhere, doing a bit of washing up, walking around the house. Anything at all is exercise. Anything. So get your body moving at least once every hour. If you, like me, you're on the computer a lot, try and get up every hour and have 5 or 10 minutes doing something, and have the odd day where you're doing something for half the day. That should keep you in good stead. You don't expect you to keep moving all the time. I don't, and don't expect anybody else to. But do get up and do move, because otherwise you're going to really make yourself worse. And what you've got to remember with exercises is the idea is getting there. It's not a race. There's no race about it. Take your time. There's nothing worse than stress. Stress is a killer. It really is. So don't let anyone rush you for anything, family, friends, whoever. You don't rush, because if you've noticed, if you rush, then you get out of breath. So be careful there. Take your time. Don't be rushed. And always carry your rescue pump with you, because you never know when you're going to need it. And there's nothing worse than gasping for breath and finding you haven't got your rescue pack. Always have it with you and know how to use it. That's very, very important. This is just things about how I get through my COPD. Another thing I find useful, I love music, and I listen to mindfulness. A lot of people might have heard of mindfulness, or they might have heard it and not know what it is. If you've got a mobile phone or iPad, or you've got a computer, go on there, download an app of mindfulness, have a little listen to it, with the headphones like you've got here, and you'd be quite surprised. It relaxes you. It takes your mind away from everything, and your breathing's better, and you feel better, and you can be completely refreshed by that. It's a great distraction of the mind, in a sense, and distracting the mind is really good, because some of this, if you're thinking about your breathing all the time, if you're thinking about your problems all the time, it gets worse. Do breathing exercises though. Personally, breathing, really good for you. If you go onto my site, we strive to breathe easier. I use a Canadian site. Every day I do breathing exercises, and the breathing exercises also have exercises which keeps the body a little bit more subtle. So, it keeps the mind subtle, keeps the body subtle, it keeps the lungs in better condition. All this is very important. All of this is part of survival, because surviving is moving, surviving is doing things. Staying in bed or staying on the sofa, just watching films all the time, 24 hours a day, is not surviving. So do move yourself, at least a little tiny bit. And hobbies. Now, I have lots of hobbies, not so much in the winter, but we have now. In the winter, my hobbies are things like this blog. I run a self-help group. As you know, we strive to breathe easier, which if you don't belong to it, type in "we strive to breathe easier" on Facebook. Ask to join, and you'll find me there. That's a group that I started several years ago. It's a self-help group, and you know, as a likeness of minds. It's good to be able to talk to other people that have got the same problems. It's good to be able to go onto a site if you've got a problem and you want a bit of advice, because this site that I've got's got around 1,500 members. And if you've got a problem, you can pretty well guarantee that at least one of them has had the same problem. How about that? And they're able to give you some good advice. So, join other groups and get to meet other people as well. That's good for you. And I've got other hobbies as well. I love writing. I do a bit of reading. I'm really into photography, although obviously in this weather, I don't go out doing a lot of photography. I do my own calendar every year, for instance. That's part of my projects that I have. Give yourself little projects. I also do a lot of volunteer work and belong to patient representative groups where you listen into things that are going on in the COPD world, and they want your opinion maybe of something where patients may be affected, Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? And you'll be surprised that people do listen to you. I go along to meetings and I've had sir this and lady this and professor so and so, and I've walked into meetings. I thought I'm out of my depth, Derek. I don't know what people are going to think of me, but I've always been treated with the utmost respect, and I've been listened to. In fact, some of the things that I've mentioned have been put into effect. So join them. Do something. Find yourself a hobby. Get yourself busy. Get out there. I do a bit of media work as well. That's great fun. When I was younger, I would never have done that. But it's not uncommon now to get a call and ask if I can go along or someone come along to me to do a quick interview for the BBC or for radio or the press or something like that. All good fun. And it's part of life's adventure, isn't it? That's what I would call it. You know, it's all part of enjoying yourself. Um, but it's a meeting of minds, other people with lung conditions, and of course you must try and sleep well. I know sleeping isn't too good a point with CRPD, and I don't sleep that well. I wake up quite a few times as other people do, even though I use oxygen when I'm sleeping. But I do eat well. I do look after myself, and I do keep myself moving. Anyway, I hope that this is going to give you a little bit of inspiration, especially those that have recently been told you've got COPD, especially those of you that may be 39, 40 years old, as I was all those years ago. Uh, and maybe you're thinking, oh, my life's over. Your life's not over. You've got plenty of life yet. In fact, in the next 10 years, the way advances are going, you may not get to stage 4. You may be absolutely fine. We wait and see. Anyway, that's me from South Wales, and I've really enjoyed this little chat. Christmas is coming, so have a good Christmas, you and your family, and we'll say bye bye from South Wales. Bye bye for now.